Christian parenting.
Teenage crushes, youth ministry, and living together. We're going to talk about all these things on this special Q&A edition of Family Vision.
Hi, my name is Amy Rienow. Welcome to Family Vision, the podcast from Visionary Family Ministries, encouraging families through practical, encouraging, and real conversations.
Hi, Rob Rienow here with Visionary Family Ministries alongside my sweet bride, Amy.
Hello.
We want to invite you to join us for a special, incredible family retreat weekend. This is November 11 to 13, 2022. We have our next Visionary Family Weekend away. It's going to be up at the Kalahari Water Park Resort up in Wisconsin Dells, Friday night through Sunday lunch. We had our first VFM weekend away this last year, also up in the Dells. 300 plus people from around the Midwest, even beyond, join us for this. It is a unique, powerful, fun, transformational experience. You've heard of men's retreats, women's retreats, youth retreats, marriage retreats. This is a family retreat where you're going to get to build relationships with each other, with other families, have opportunities for some fun and some getaway. You can get all the information about the VFM Weekend Away at our website, visionaryfam.com/retreat. visionaryfam.com/retreat. We would love for you to be a part of this. All right, well, we're going to continue with questions and answers from our listening audience. A lot of these questions came in through email at podcast@visionaryfam.com. Some of them came in through our conference ministry. And honey, I'm going to ask you the first one. Here we go. This is a question from a parent who has a teen daughter, and that teen daughter is starting to go a little boy crazy. Says she's 16 years old, she's a junior, and already this year she has had 3 boyfriends, which have all ended in heartbreak. We're trying to have a boundary of group dating, and we don't think a lot of sexual stuff's going on, but our big concern is the huge emotional roller coaster that she takes from being infatuated with a boy, the constant communication, and then it can be days, even weeks, of what feels like depression when the relationship falls apart. How can we help her?
Yeah, I hear you on this one. Let me just start with that this is another challenging topic because, again, as a family, it's hard to go against the grain. It's hard for your daughter to have some rules that really kind of try to prevent some of the cycles that you're breaking. So I'm going to talk a little bit in our house about what of our rules or what some of our guiding principles. One of it is simply what we talk a lot about is trying to avoid heart connection. Now, that seems kind of a strange concept, but what we're saying here to our kids is kind of a principle in Proverbs where it says, above all else, guard your heart. So we really advised our kids that it's mostly about developing these heart connections with people when you're dating, these heart connections with the opposite sex that are causing that emotional, like I'm having a good day when things are going well, I'm having a bad day, because it's this heart connection that is really the most vulnerable part of you. And when we are not giving our teenagers any guidance on that, we're actually kind of teaching them that this whole process of being closely connected with someone and then abruptly breaking up, it sort of in some ways is a precursor for divorce and unstable relationships, because we want our kids to be very careful about who they give their heart to. And sadly, that's just not expressed at all, so that we don't really evaluate how careful we need to be with that. And so we even would be, as parents, we're kind of helping our kids monitor these relationships. Like you said in your thing about a boundary about group dating, that's really important because you want them to have fun. You want them to enjoy interactions with people that they're interested in, but you want them to be cautious about being vulnerable, not just with physical intimacy, but first with emotional intimacy. And that is hard to do. And that's what you are seeing, is that your daughter is in this vicious cycle of sharing a lot of herself, getting connected with someone, getting rejected, and that's why you're seeing this emotional turmoil. So it takes a lot of pulling your daughter and really trying to focus on your own heart connection with her. I'm not sure if this email is from a mom or a dad, but actually both parents can play a key part in building their own heart connection to explain these principles to her so that she is not so dependent on finding a boyfriend. And often that's another thing with girls is that they feel their worth is very connected to whoever they're dating, or that's somehow a significant status for them, or it feeds their self-esteem. So as parents, our job is to really try to build into them a deep heart connection with them so that we say, we're going to help you. We're going to help you eventually find someone who really cares about you, and we're going to help you with protecting your heart. You're going to give your heart to us so that we can start strengthening you, because this whole you need to really be able to explain to your daughter that this emotional roller coaster is not healthy, and that's not a pattern that she wants to bring into college and to adult dating relationships.
Right. Yeah, and there's also a way to wrap this with some good news and some affirmation. In other words, I'm really thrilled that your daughter likes boys so much. That's great. Yes. Okay, that's a healthy thing.
That's true, yes.
And that she wants to be in a wonderful, happy relationship with a boy. That's a wonderful thing. And we also have to acknowledge, just culturally, it wasn't that long ago at 16, 17, 18, you would be preparing for marriage. You would be finding, right, Mr. Right or Mrs. Right. And now that is 22 or statistically, 28, 30 now. So there's this massive gap between when a young person is really thinking about marriage and sexuality and all these things, and then the delay of marriage. So it's understandable that your daughter is so eager, right, to be in a relationship with a boy. That's how God wired her up. And I think you made a good point that just trying to help her see the pattern. Honey, how are you enjoying this pattern that we've gone through these last few months, this super high to super low to super high to super low? I would imagine she would say, no, I don't enjoy that pattern. So I really want to help you so that we don't keep repeating this.
I also think we need to talk about Snapchat and texting. And, in our home, it may sound draconian to some of you, but we monitor our kids' social media, and we even monitor their text. So their friends know that Mr. and Mrs. Rienow are reading what's coming through. And that seems probably in many homes like, wow, what an invasion of privacy. Although our belief has been, until you pay for your own life, we are guardians and paying for your life, we have the right to monitor these type of things for you or help you with. And that is important to understand that the heart connection is developing typically these days through texting and specifically Snapchat. That's where it's all beginning. So that's kind of a key part of understanding that part of your daughter's life, what's happening there. And some really dangerous things are happening on Snapchat in this area. Very dangerous. And parents can be oblivious to that. But that's where the heart connection is typically starting.
Mm-hmm. Well, it just reminded me of a story that I think gives some insight into the importance of staying connected with your kids' electronics. We weren't really planning on talking about this here, but also the ministry that can come from that. I remember a situation where one of our kids' friends was texting one of our kids about some personal things that they were struggling with and things they were dealing with in their home that were pretty concerning.
Correct.
And our child responded, hey, just so you know, my parents might see this. Mm-hmm. And their friend said, I know, it's okay. Mm-hmm. And it was actually a situation that we were, friends with this family and were able to provide just some encouragement and a little bit of help. But it really was impactful to me that our child's friend actually wanted some help. They wanted the openness was something they felt like they needed.
Correct. And I think a lot of kids are navigating some very significant things, specifically in this area of dating. They are navigating some heavy things. And so often we as parents are completely oblivious because we have this faulty idea that our kids should have a private tech life, a private life on their phones and their devices, which I could not disagree more with that concept.
Right. One of the little proverbs or principles that I've latched onto is no one is holy enough for a secret online life. No one's holy enough for a secret online life, me included. So I've got covenant eyes on my computer. It tracks everywhere I go. I can go to a sleazy website, but my pastor and my son are going to get an email saying, hey, Rob's computer went to a sleazy website. It is the accountability that's there, and I want that accountability for me. No one's holy enough for a secret online life.
But also in this issue of heart connection and the tech and the media, what's very different from the way we grew up and what I try to explain to my girls is, that if a boy called my home, everybody knew about it. They came in through the public phone. Dad would know, so things moved slower, because there was no other way of communication. And everyone was a lot more aware of the process. Your parents would know who you liked. You need to be aware as a parent now that your daughter is in a world where these things are happening very rapidly. She could even be going through a relationship you didn't know about, all on tech, and you were even unaware of the whole thing because there was never anything entering into your world. So as a parent, be brave enough to dive in and realize that living the way that we're saying, where you're protecting heart connection and you're trying to teach it to your kids, is extremely countercultural, and you have to be brave to dive into that. But we have a no serious boyfriend-girlfriend rule in our house. We really don't encourage that just because of things you said. Our culture doesn't. Marriage is not going to happen for our 17, 18-year-olds, so this is not the time to be entering into serious heart-connected relationships.
I love what you said about the public phone. It's just a great insight about how things were different. And I've shared this before. I said, imagine your daughter back in the day when we had physical phones, right? Like the physical phones you picked up and put back on the hanger. Imagine your daughter said, during dinner, I'd like to have 5 phones in front of me with different lines, and I want to be having 5 different conversations over the course of dinner. There's no parent on the planet that would say that's fine. But that's exactly what she's doing on her phone as she's texting 5 different conversations with all these different people. Okay, you got a question for me.
Okay. Well, that was a lot. So this is a question about youth ministry and family ministry. Our church has had a strong youth ministry in the past. This has been a good thing, but sometimes the parents rely on the youth ministry too much. Do you have some practical ways that we can better equip or involve parents in our youth ministry?
All right. Again, absolutely love this question. And Amy and I have such fond memories of our many, many years in youth ministry together. So first of all, just thank you for your heart for teenagers and your ministry. It's super important. I'm going to give you some just very practical ideas that you could consider to build a stronger relationship with parents in your youth ministry. One thing would be to just consider occasional family nights. Maybe you have your youth ministry on Sunday night. And, some months, 4 times a year, there's a 5th Sunday in the month. Maybe whenever it's a 5th Sunday, that's a family night. And it's not just teenagers that come, but it's parents and grandparents, aunts and uncles, anybody who can make it. And you're going to do a very similar program to what you normally do. You're going to worship. You're going to play some games. You're going to have some Bible teaching and some interaction, but it's all going to be designed to build generational connection. Another thing you can do as a youth pastor is be very strategic about spending more of your time with parents. One of my mentors, Richard Ross, he trains youth pastors to think in terms of their time in thirds. 1/3 of your time with students, 1/3 of your time with parents, and 1/3 of your time with your students and the whole church family or the multi-generational church family. It doesn't have to be 33, 33, 33, but if those are big buckets of the youth pastor's time, I think that that's pretty powerful. Third practical thing. Yeah, you want to add something?
Well, I just wanted to add that going back to our previous conversation about heart connection, because all of these things kind of flow together. One thing that that I think we regret as youth pastors is that in the youth ministries, it's really set up for teenagers to share their hearts with their youth leaders or their small group leaders. That's kind of the youth ministry world. And one really easy way to help that is your youth leaders should be constantly encouraging your kids to develop that heart connection with their parents. So if they share with you something that is vulnerable and important as a youth leader, you say, hey, it's so important that you need to share that with your parents so that these kids are connecting with them. And that's something we didn't do as well that, we always look back and say that's something that is really critical for youth pastors to be doing.
You're so right. I mean, everything we're sharing with you right here, the first 10 years of our youth ministry together, we were I'll speak for myself. I was pretty clueless about. But as these principles began to click in, one very concrete thing, I'm going off of what you just said. You finish youth group night. Okay, the vast majority of these kids are about to get in the car with someone. It's probably going to be a mom and dad, grandma, grandpa. It's going to be a caring Christian adult, and they're going to ask a question when they pick that kid up from youth group. How was youth group tonight? What did you learn? So one thing you're able to do when you finish that message on that Wednesday night or Sunday night, you're able to say, no, listen, the first thing I want you to do to put this into practice is whoever picks you up or whoever you go home to, tell them what you learned tonight.
Amen.
Open your heart to whoever you, the other people in your house. So those are just a few practical things that you could begin to do to help turn the hearts of teenagers to their parents, help turn the hearts of parents to their teenagers. If you want to do a deep dive into this subject of how to advance equipping families, partnership with families in your church, our book, Visionary Church, How Your Church Can Strengthen Families, is the deep dive there. And if you've never been a part of the annual D6 conference, which is the National Family Ministry Conference, I would strongly encourage you for yourself, for your team, to join us at the D6 conference each year. You can get all the information at d6conference.com. Amy, one more question. Here's the question. I think I know what you're going to say, but I'm going to ask the question anyway.
I love that.
Yeah. My boyfriend and I are both 23. We have been dating 3 years. We don't think we're ready to get married, but thinking that it might be worth trying to live together for a little while. His parents are saying this is a bad idea. Mine are fine with it. What would you say?
I love the whole, I think I know what you're going to say. So that's a great way to start this out. First of all, you probably do know what I'm going to say, that I do agree with his parents that it's a bad idea, but maybe not for some of the reasons that you would expect. First of all, I just want to say, as a marriage family therapist, that it is just concrete fact that people who live together before they're getting married are more likely to get divorced. That is not
80%.
Yeah, it's not negotiable. This is talked about in Christian circles, non-Christian circles. So this whole idea that somehow living together is a great way to figure out if you should be married is just, it's a facade, because it typically doesn't work out. And our own personal experience, we've seen it many times, couples who've lived together and, get married. And I know specifically one who lived together about 6 years, and I think the marriage lasted 6 months. So, and let's ask ourselves, why is that the case? It's very curious, isn't it? Well, let me explain that to you. There's something that happens in your relationship as it progresses. So, for example, a couple who are dating and then get engaged, whether you were in dating for 3 years or 6 months, it's this process of getting engaged that actually changes your relationship. And there's nothing that you can do to get to that level until you take that step.
In other words, you could date 10 years,
right,
but the relationship has plateaued at a certain investment and commitment level. Once you make the commitment to engagement, the nature of the relationship changes.
Absolutely.
Okay, just clarifying what you're saying.
Thank you. And so the same exact process happens with marriage. And the issue is when people live together before they're married, they often think that they've tried marriage or that they know what this is going to be like. And yet, when you're living together, each of you still has this opportunity to leave without any consequences. When someone can leave a relationship without any real consequences, there is a part of you, you may not believe me, but there's a part of you that is still putting your best foot forward because you are very aware of that risk. You know that that person can leave when they want to. However, once you cross the threshold and once you get married, that whole option is out the door now. So now the real yous are joining, are part of this relationship now. Right. The part of you that you thought, we're past that. We don't do that anymore. So many couples, that's not true for us. We have long past that. Like, we're not putting our best foot forward. And we've had to sit and look people in the eye. Yes, you are. You don't realize you are, but you are. So marriage, therefore, changes your relationship. And what people speculate as to why people who live together before they're married get divorced is that those who live together before they're married have this comparison. They say, it wasn't like this. Why is it so much worse now that we're married? It wasn't like this before we get married. You changed. Yeah, you changed. You didn't realize it. And the person you were living with changed. You didn't realize it. But now you have this comparison. Well, it was so much better before we got married. So therefore, we should get a divorce because the marriage is what made the relationship bad. So that is why it is a very bad idea, let alone Scripture says it's a really bad idea. Maybe I should let you answer that one, but it is against God's law, but I was just giving you kind of the practical and even secular reasons why this is proven to be ineffective.
I think it's really important what you said, because I think in the beginning of the question, I think I know what you're going to say. The scriptural piece, right? Flee from sexual immorality. You're not going to live together and be celibate sexually. I can guarantee you that.
Yes.
So you're not going to be, you're going to be engaging in sexuality outside of marriage, which God's word is so clear about. Flee from sexual immorality, which means run as far away from it as you possibly can. So you're doing such spiritual, emotional, sexual damage to your relationship in that area, and then saying, okay, well, we're going to get married on top of that broken foundation. Well, lots more that we could say on this. I hope that you have enjoyed these last 3 podcasts, these special Q&A podcasts. We've enjoyed it. We're going to keep doing them from time to time. And we would just love to have your support and partnership in this ministry here at Visionary Family Ministries. God's called us to bring hope from God's Word to families around the world. And this ministry happens because of our friends and our financial supporters. If you're encouraged through Family Vision, please consider supporting our ministry, Visionary Family Ministries. You can reach us at visionaryfam.com/donate, visionaryfam.com/donate. We always want to hear from you. Our email is podcast@visionaryfam.com. Our free resource of the month, which you can get on our website, is an MP3 seminar, actually, that I was really blessed to do with my 24-year-old son, RW. It's a conversation called Making a Spiritual Impact Through Sports. Making a Spiritual Impact Through Sports. And you can get that seminar for free. Just go to our website, visionaryfam.com. Right on the main page, it says Free Resource of the Month. You click that, you can download and listen to that MP3 with your son, with your daughter. It'll spark some great conversations with you about how God can use your whole family in this area of sports to make a difference for Christ.
I'd also like to say, if you thought these question and answer podcasts were helpful, or if you would like to hear more on one of those topics that we discussed, we would love to hear from you.
That would be great. Yep. And the best way to reach us, podcast@visionaryfam.com. And we're already looking forward to our next time with you on Family Vision.